very attractive person.
Thank you.
Amanda never said how attractive you were.
Well, maybe she doesn't think I'm attractive.
The year was 1989, and Hollywood was about to discover that a movie consisting mostly of two people eating sandwiches and arguing about friendship could outgross action films and redefine an entire genre. When Harry Met Sally had no car chases, no last-minute airport scenes, no easily resolved misunderstandings. Just Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan talking in diners, walking through museums, and slowly realizing that everything they thought they knew about relationships was completely wrong.
Did you look this good at the University of Chicago?
No.
Did we ever...
No.
Director Rob Reiner was coming off The Princess Bride. Writer Nora Ephron was a celebrated journalist, making her first major screenwriting splash. Neither of them knew they were creating what would become the romantic comedy blueprint for 3 decades. They just wanted to make something honest, something that felt like real people having real conversations about love, friendship, and whether the two could coexist. What emerged was a film that earned $92.8 million domestically on a $16 million budget, launched countless imitators, and gave cinema one of its most parodied scenes involving a deli, fake satisfaction, and one very loud performance. It proved that audiences craved authenticity over manufactured conflict, that wit could replace spectacle, and that the slow burn romance could be more satisfying than love at first sight. Today we're breaking down 15 weird facts about When Harry Met Sally that reveal how personal heartbreak, improvised genius, and real married couples created a film that still defines how we think about modern love. Now, before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe because it genuinely helps the channel grow. Let's dive in. Number 15, Rob Reiner, was divorced and dating while making a movie about whether love exists. When Rob Reiner started developing When Harry Met Sally in 1987, he was freshly divorced from director Penny Marshall. The split had left him cynical about romantic relationships, convinced that sustainable love between men and women was essentially a myth. He brought this pessimism directly to Nora Ephron when hiring her to write the screenplay. Reiner sat down with Ephron and unloaded his theories.
Friends is a deep relationship where you share your most intimate thoughts and feelings.
Men and women can't be friends because sex always gets in the way. Romantic love eventually dies. Intimacy is impossible to maintain. Ephron listened and turned Reiner's despair into Harry Burns, the pessimist who thinks he understands everything but actually understands nothing. Here's where it gets beautiful. During production in 1988, Reiner met photographer Michelle Singer. They started dating while he was literally directing a film about two people who think they're incompatible, slowly discovering they're perfect together. Reiner was living Harry's arc in real time, going from cynical divorcee to a hopeful romantic while cameras rolled. By the time Harry Met Sally wrapped, Reiner was engaged to Singer. They married in 1989, the same year the film was released. The director who started the project convinced love was dead and ended it planning a wedding. That transformation shows up in the film. Harry's journey from cynicism to vulnerability feels authentic because Reiner was experiencing it simultaneously. Number 14, Nora Ephron was processing her divorce and channeled pain into Sally. Nora Ephron wasn't just writing a romantic comedy when she created When Harry Met Sally. She was working through the wreckage of her marriage to journalist Carl Bernstein, who'd had an affair while Ephron was pregnant with their second child. The divorce was brutal, public, and left Ephron questioning whether she could ever trust another person. Sally Albright's high-maintenance quirks, her need to control every variable, her elaborate restaurant ordering that drives everyone around her slightly insane, that came directly from Ephron's actual personality. In interviews, she freely admitted that Sally's on-the-side specifications and neurotic preparation weren't character invention, they were autobiography. But the deeper truth was Sally's emotional arc.
Still works. It's beyond your wildest dreams.
Go ahead, it's not one of my favorites anyway.
Her resistance to vulnerability, her fear of being hurt, her conviction that if she controlled everything she'd be safe, all of that emerged from Ephron's post-divorce defensive crouch. Sally's journey from rigid self-protection to risky openness was Ephron working through whether love was worth attempting again after devastating betrayal. The screenplay became therapy disguised as entertainment. Every witty observation about relationships came from someone who'd been burned and was trying to find her way back to hope. Here's the redemptive twist. Efron found love again after writing this film. She married screenwriter Nicholas Pileggi in 1987 and stayed married until her death in 2012. She proved that Sally's journey wasn't just fictional wish fulfillment. It was a roadmap that actually worked. Number 13. Billy Crystal rewrote his dialogue. Constantly and most famous lines are improvised. Billy Crystal wasn't just cast as Harry Burns. He became an unofficial co-writer, improvising and rewriting his dialogue so extensively that Nora Ephron eventually surrendered and let him reshape the character. Crystal would receive scripted pages, read them, then show up on set with his own version that usually made the final cut. The pecan pie monologue where Harry tells a story about his ex-wife, improvised on the spot. Crystal created that entire bit during filming. The scene wasn't even in the original script. He convinced Rob Reiner to let him try something, and it became one of the film's most quoted moments. Crystal's comedy background meant he understood rhythm and timing in ways that looked good on paper, but played even better on screen. He'd take Efron's solid dialogue and add layers of personality, making Harry funnier and more human simultaneously.
Would you like to have dinner with me sometime?
Are we becoming friends now?
Well, yeah.
Nora Ephron could have been territorial. A comedian was rewriting her carefully crafted screenplay daily. Instead, she recognized that Crystal understood Harry in ways she couldn't access as a writer. The collaboration made the script better. Here's the professional lesson. Great writers know when actors improve their work. Ephron's ego never interfered with making a better film. She understood that her job was creating the best possible movie, not protecting every word she'd written. The result was a character that felt both written and spontaneous. Harry's funniest observations sound too sharp to be improvised, but they were. Number 12. The documentary couples are real people telling their actual love stories. Those interview segments sprinkled throughout. When Harry Met Sally, where couples sit on couches telling charming stories about how they met and fell in love. Those aren't actors reading scripted material. They're real married couples sharing their actual relationship histories on camera. Rob Reiner made this decision during pre-production. He wanted authenticity that scripted anecdotes couldn't provide. The production team put out a casting call specifically for long-married couples willing to share their stories. Dozens responded. Reiner personally interviewed them, selected the ones with the most compelling narratives. The couple who met because she was a dental hygienist and he was her patient. Real people, real story.
And I said, Arthur, you see that girl? I'm going to marry her. And 2 weeks later, we were married.
The couple who didn't speak after their first meeting and reconnected a year later, it actually happened to them. Every single anecdote in those segments is genuine. This choice created an emotional foundation for the entire film. While Harry and Sally's fictional relationship plays out, these real couples provide proof that love actually works for some people. The contrast between romantic comedy artifice and documentary reality gives the film unexpected weight. Here's why it matters. Those couples make Harry and Sally's eventual romance feel possible rather than fantastical. When Harry runs through Manhattan on New Year's Eve to tell Sally he loves her, you believe it could work because you've been watching real relationships succeed throughout the film. Reiner could have hired actors and written cute stories. Instead, he chose reality. That decision made everything else feel more honest, more achievable, more worth believing in. Number 11. The Katz's Delicatessen scene was filmed with real customers eating lunch. The most famous scene in When Harry Met Sally, where Sally demonstrates faking satisfaction while eating pastrami and an older woman delivers the immortal line about ordering what she's having, was shot inside Katz's Delicatessen on Manhattan's Lower East Side during regular business hours with real customers present. The production couldn't afford to rent out the entire restaurant, so they worked around actual New Yorkers trying to eat actual lunch while Meg Ryan performed increasingly theatrical demonstrations of pleasure at a nearby table. Some of the people visible in the scene are extras. Many are genuine customers who signed releases after filming wrapped. Meg Ryan was mortified. She had to perform this scene repeatedly while strangers ate corned beef 10 feet away. The embarrassment was real, which paradoxically made the performance more authentic.
Ooh,
Are you okay?
Oh. Oh, God.
Ryan's discomfort added a layer of vulnerability that a closed set couldn't have provided. Director Rob Reiner placed his own mother, Estelle Reiner, at a table specifically to deliver the punchline. Estelle was a singer and actress in her own right, but this was her most famous moment. Her deadpan delivery of that line became the single most quoted moment from the entire film. Here's the beautiful part. Katz's Delicatessen became a tourist destination because of this scene. People still visit specifically to sit at the table where it was filmed. There's a sign marking the spot. The restaurant built an entire marketing strategy around one scene from one movie. Number 10. Estelle Reiner improvised the most famous line, and it wasn't scripted that way. Estelle Reiner, Rob Reiner's mother, had exactly one line in When Harry Met Sally. She was sitting at a table in Katz's Delicatessen, placed there by her son to react to Meg Ryan's fake satisfaction demonstration. The script gave her a line to deliver to the waiter after Ryan's performance ended, but when they actually filmed the scene, Estelle changed it.
I'll have what she's having.
She improvised her own version, delivering it with perfect deadpan timing that her son immediately recognized as superior to what was written. Rob kept that take, and the improvised line made the final cut. That spontaneous delivery became the most quoted moment in the entire film. People who've never seen When Harry Met Sally know that line. It transcended the movie and entered the cultural lexicon, referenced in political speeches, other films, television shows, and everyday conversation for over 3 decades. Estelle Reiner passed away in 2008 at age 94. Nearly every obituary mentioned that one improvised line. A woman who had a small supporting role in her son's film achieved a form of immortality through 5 words and impeccable comedic timing. Here's the beautiful irony. Rob Reiner spent $16 million, hired celebrated writers, cast major stars, and assembled a talented crew. The single most memorable line in his film came from his mother improvising on the spot during one take. Number 9. Rob Reiner and Nora Ephron interviewed dozens of couples for 2 years before writing. Most screenwriters research by reading books and watching films. Nora Ephron and Rob Reiner researched When Harry Met Sally by conducting extensive interviews with real couples, friends, and acquaintances over a 2-year period. They wanted authentic stories about how relationships actually work, not Hollywood assumptions about romance. They'd sit people down and ask detailed questions. How did you meet? When did you know this was serious? What almost destroyed the relationship? What saved it?
It's not trumped up. It's a real unfolding of a story. It's just really taking real people and saying, this is what happens between men and women.
Tell me about your worst fight. Tell me the moment you realized you were in love. The stories that emerged shaped the screenplay fundamentally. The documentary interview segments came directly from this research process, but so did the dialogue rhythms, the relationship observations, the specific ways Harry and Sally talked to each other. Ephron and Reiner were essentially conducting sociological research disguised as screenplay development. This process took much longer than Columbia Pictures anticipated. The studio kept asking when the script would be finished. Reiner kept insisting he needed more research. He was using development money to interview people about their love lives, which probably wasn't what executives had in mind. But here's the payoff. That research made the film's dialogue bulletproof. When critics called it too clever or artificial, audiences disagreed. They recognized their own conversations, their own relationship dynamics, their own neuroses playing out on screen. The film feels authentic because it is authentic. Every observation came from real people describing real experiences. Sometimes the best fiction requires treating real life as your primary source material. Ephron and Reiner understood this completely. Number 8. The movie beat Batman and Indiana Jones through word-of-mouth marketing. When Harry Met Sally opened in limited release on July 12, 1989, in just 41 theaters. That same summer, Batman was dominating the box office with the biggest marketing campaign in film history. And Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was still packing theaters. Billy Crystal was convinced When Harry Met Sally would disappear. A small romantic comedy about 2 people talking couldn't compete against superhero blockbusters and action-adventure sequels with $100 million budgets. Columbia Pictures used an unusual platform release strategy, opening small, letting word of mouth build, then gradually expanding to more theaters over subsequent weeks. It was a gamble that could fail spectacularly if audiences didn't respond. The first weekend, When Harry Met Sally earned over $1 million from those 41 theaters, the second highest per-screen average ever for a film on fewer than 50 screens. Audiences were telling their friends, and their friends were buying tickets. On July 21st, Columbia expanded to 775 theaters nationwide. The film earned $8.8 million its opening weekend of wide release. Reviews were strong, and the crowds kept coming. People saw it multiple times, quoting dialogue to each other in parking lots. The movie kept expanding, eventually playing in 1,174 theaters, and earned $92.8 million domestically against its $16 million budget. Internationally, it made another estimated $100 million, bringing the worldwide total near $193 million. Batman made more money overall, but When Harry Met Sally became the romantic comedy phenomenon of the decade through pure audience enthusiasm rather than marketing muscle. Number 7. The split-screen phone watching scene came from Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal's real friendship. The scene where Harry and Sally talk on the phone while both watching Casablanca on television in their separate apartments feels spontaneous and real. That's because it was literally something Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal did every night during their real friendship. Reiner and Crystal had been friends for years before making When Harry Met Sally. They had been born just 6 days apart in March 1947 in New York City, giving them nearly identical cultural touchstones and shared references. Most nights, they'd call each other on the phone while watching television. They'd flip channels together, commenting on what they found, making jokes, and staying connected while being physically apart. The phone became the technology that maintained their friendship across distance. When Nora Ephron was writing the screenplay, Reiner told her about this habit. She immediately recognized it as perfect for Harry and Sally, a way to show intimacy and connection without physical proximity, using 1980s technology to create romance.
They are using communication devices. Billy Crystal's leaving messages on Meg Ryan's answering machine.
The scene captures something specific about how people actually maintained relationships before texting and FaceTime. The phone call while watching TV together was a real ritual that many people practiced, but nobody had really depicted on screen before. Ephron took Reiner and Crystal's actual friendship behavior and made it the emotional centerpiece of Harry and Sally's developing romance. The scene works because it came from real life, rather than a screenwriter inventing what she thought people did. Number 6. Rob Reiner changed the ending. During filming, when he fell in love in real life. The original ending of When Harry Met Sally was bleak. Harry and Sally would run into each other years after their friendship ended, have a brief conversation catching up, then walk away from each other in opposite directions. No reunion, no declaration of love, no happy ending. Rob Reiner had written that ending because it reflected his own cynical view of relationships. After 10 years of being single following his divorce from Penny Marshall, he'd concluded that lasting love was impossible. The movie's ending matched his emotional reality. Then during production, cinematographer Barry Sonnenfeld introduced Reiner to photographer Michelle Singer. Sonnenfeld thought they'd make a good couple and set up a meeting. Their first conversation was hilariously blunt. Reiner told Singer she should quit smoking because it was unhealthy. Singer responded that Reiner should lose weight. Despite, or maybe because of, this brutal honesty, they connected immediately. Reiner fell hard. For the first time in a decade, he understood how love could actually work between two people. His cynicism evaporated, replaced by genuine hope and happiness. He went to Nora Ephron and Billy Crystal and said they needed to change the ending. Harry and Sally couldn't walk away from each other because that wasn't true anymore. People who belong together should end up together. Crystal and Reiner wrote new dialogue for the New Year's Eve finale. Harry running through Manhattan to tell Sally all the specific reasons he loves her, needing the rest of his life to start immediately.
Came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
Reiner and Michelle Singer married in May 1989, the same year when Harry Met Sally was released. And here's the beautiful irony. The cynical movie about how relationships fail became a romantic classic because the director fell in love during filming and rewrote reality. Number 5, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan had zero chemistry off-screen, and it didn't matter. Movie magic would suggest that Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan must have had incredible off-screen chemistry, some special connection that translated to their on-screen electric dynamic. The reality was exactly opposite. They were professional colleagues who got along fine, but had virtually no personal relationship outside of work. In various interviews over the years, both actors acknowledged this. They liked each other, they respected each other's talent, but they weren't friends. They didn't socialize between takes.
Harry,
What?
we are just going to be friends, okay?
Great, friends. It's the best thing.
They didn't keep in touch after filming wrapped. Their connection was entirely professional, entirely contained to the work. This is fascinating because their on-screen chemistry is undeniable. Harry and Sally feel like people who've known each other for years, who understand each other's rhythms, who can communicate through silences and looks. That intimacy came from acting skill and Rob Reiner's direction, not from any real personal connection. Both actors have said that Reiner created an environment where they could find the characters' relationship without needing to manufacture personal friendship. The chemistry was character chemistry, not actor chemistry. That's actually harder to achieve than when actors genuinely connect. Here's the professional lesson. Great screen chemistry doesn't require real-life friendship. It requires talented actors who understand their characters and a director who knows how to capture authentic moments. Crystal and Ryan proved that you can create believable intimacy through craft alone. Oh, number 4. The script took years to write, because Ephron and Reiner kept restructuring it. Nora Ephron's first drafts of When Harry Met Sally looked nothing like the final film. The structure was different, the tone varied, entire sequences existed that eventually got cut. The screenplay went through extensive rewrites over several years before arriving at the version that got filmed. Early drafts had Harry and Sally becoming intimate much earlier in the story. Rob Reiner pushed back hard. He argued that sleeping together early would make the rest of the film feel inevitable rather than earned. He wanted the sexual tension to build slowly over years, making audiences wonder if and when it would happen. Ephron eventually agreed and restructured the entire screenplay around delayed gratification. The film We Know, where Harry and Sally meet, separate, reconnect years later, become friends, complicate that friendship, and finally give in to romantic feelings, that structure emerged from multiple revisions. The ending also went through changes. Early versions had different resolutions to the central question of whether men and women could be friends. Each revision brought the screenplay closer to the final version, where the answer is essentially yes. Until you fall in love, then friendship becomes something deeper. Here's what made this process work. Both Reiner and Ephron were willing to kill their darlings. When something wasn't working, they cut it regardless of how much they loved it. The screenplay improved through subtraction as much as addition. Number 3, Carrie Fisher improvised most of her best lines, playing Marie. Carrie Fisher brought her own relationship chaos to the role of Marie, Sally's best friend and romantic cynic. Fisher was processing her own complicated romantic history during filming, channeling real feelings about love and dating into a character who was supposed to be supporting rather than stealing scenes. The chemistry between Fisher and Bruno Kirby, who played Jess, was immediate. They started improvising extensively during their scenes together. The bookstore conversation where Marie explains why married men are more attractive because someone already decided they were worth marrying. Much of that was Fisher working through her actual perspectives on relationships. Rob Reiner recognized what was happening and gave them freedom to improvise. He knew Fisher was bringing authentic emotional complexity to what could have been a stock best friend role. He knew Kirby was matching her energy perfectly. Good directing often means recognizing when actors are elevating material and getting out of their way. Fisher's improvisation made Marie far more than a sounding board for Sally. The character became equally compelling, with her own complete arc from cynical dating to unexpected love with Jess. Their subplot ended up being as satisfying as Harry and Sally's main story. Here's the beautiful part. Fisher took a supporting role and made it essential. Through improvisation and lived experience, she created a character that audiences cared about as much as the leads. Number 2. The ending was rewritten because test audiences wanted more reassurance. The original ending of When Harry Met Sally had Harry and Sally together, but was ambiguous about their future. They'd gotten together on New Year's Eve, but the final moments suggested uncertainty rather than traditional romantic comedy triumph. Rob Reiner and Nora Ephron thought this was more honest about how real relationships work. Test screenings revealed that audiences hated this. They'd invested 90 minutes in watching these characters figure out they belonged together. They wanted reassurance that it worked, that the relationship lasted, that taking the risk paid off. Columbia Pictures pushed for changes. Reiner and Ephron initially resisted, arguing that their ending was more realistic and mature. But the test audience response was consistent and strong. People felt cheated by ambiguity. The solution was adding the documentary couple Coda, where Harry and Sally themselves appear years later, telling their own love story to the camera as one of the interviewed couples. This gave audiences the reassurance they craved. Yes, it worked out. Yes, they're still together. Yes, the happy ending was real. This addition made the film more satisfying, without betraying its intelligence. The documentary framing that had run throughout the film provided the perfect vehicle for showing the future without resorting to traditional romantic comedy epilogue techniques. Here's the lesson. Sometimes audiences tell you what the story needs. Reiner and Ephron were smart enough to listen. The ending they thought was too conventional became the thing that made the film emotionally complete. Test audiences saved When Harry Met Sally from its own ambivalence. Good thing someone was paying attention. Number 1. The film's central question came from Rob Reiner's real post-divorce dating confusion. The core premise of When Harry Met Sally, the question of whether men and women can be platonic friends or whether sex always gets in the way, came directly from Rob Reiner's real confusion while dating after his divorce from Penny Marshall. Reiner was genuinely trying to figure this out. He'd meet women, try to establish friendships, and find that romantic or sexual tension inevitably complicated things. He'd attempt to date women and wonder if friendship was even possible once attraction entered the equation. This wasn't theoretical screenwriting. This was Reiner's actual life crisis. He brought this question to Nora Ephron as the foundation for the entire screenplay. The film doesn't definitively answer whether platonic friendship between men and women is possible. It explores the question through Harry and Sally's evolving relationship over 12 years, showing that maybe the answer is complicated. Maybe it depends on the specific people involved. Harry's cynical certainty that it's impossible, and Sally's optimistic insistence that it's not only difficult, both turn out to be partially right and partially wrong. They can be friends until they can't, because they fall in love. Here's the beautiful truth. Reiner asked this question through his film and found his answer in real life. He met Michelle Singer, started as friends, fell in love, and got married. Life imitated the art that imitated life. And there you have it. From Rob Reiner directing through his divorce and finding love during production, to Nora Ephron channeling her heartbreak into Sally's journey to Estelle Reiner, improvising the most famous line in the film, When Harry Met Sally, was never just a romantic comedy. It was two wounded people asking whether love was worth risking again and discovering the answer through art. So here's my question. What moment from When Harry Met Sally stuck with you? Drop your answer in the comments. If you made it this far, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the films that changed everything while everyone was making something else. Thank you for watching. Until next time.